Private equity firms control trillions of dollars. But how do they actually make money? Private equity is basically a group of investors that buy companies, improve them, and sell them later for more money. First, private equity firms raise money from investors like pension funds, universities, and wealthy individuals. All that money gets pooled into something called a private equity fund. Their entire business model follows three simple steps: buy, improve, and sell. The private equity firm begins the search. They start looking for companies they believe they can improve. Often these are businesses that are underperforming but still have strong potential. The goal is to find companies that could become much more valuable with the right strategy. Once they find a target, the firm moves to the next stage. Now comes the execution. Here's the trick. Private equity firms rarely use only their own money. Instead, they borrow a large portion of the purchase price from banks. This is called leverage. For example, they might buy a $100 million company using only $30 million of investor money and $70 million of borrowed money. Once they own the company, the real work begins.
You're done. Get out of my sight.
Sometimes they replace management. Sometimes they improve operations and cut unnecessary costs. Other times they grow the business with better strategy and marketing. If the company becomes more profitable, its value increases. Imagine that the company was originally worth $100 million. After improvements, it might now be worth $200 million. After a few years, the private equity firm sells the company to another buyer. First, the borrowed money gets paid back to the bank. Whatever money remains becomes profit. Most of that profit goes back to the investors who funded the deal. But the private equity firm keeps a share of the profits called carried interest. Typically, they take around 20% of the gains. They also charge investors a yearly management fee. This model is often called the 2 and 20 structure. Private equity firms repeat this process across many companies. But if a few investments become big winners, the fund can generate billions in profit. And that's how private equity makes money. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing. The Finance Man explains different finance concepts each week in an easy, digestible way. That's all for now. See you soon.